great to see everybody here. Anybody here for the first time? Great. All right, so I only have 3 things I want to talk about. First, some updates on where we were since last time we met here. So this is the second time we use this venue. Some updates. So we've been working hard. First, these are all the new faces, new hires that we have had since the last time we had a summit. And actually 1/3 of our team has been new hires. So we've been expanding, and that's very good for us. And talking about expanding, if you joined us last year, you may have had training in this new wing from last year. So last year when we had the summit, we had just took control of a new wing of our office, right? New section of the office. We had just doubled our size. Guess what? Within a year, we outgrown that also. So, so in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, I don't know exactly how long, but by the end of 2 weeks, right? We're moving. We are expanding yet again. We're doubling our space one more time. So that growth, it's amazing. It's a little bit scary, like I tell a lot of you, but it's great. Also, another update, we continue to get these Inc. 5000, which is great, another measure that we continue to grow, okay? So they say by the time you get 5, you get a big flag, so maybe we'll get that. All right, so we're at our all-time high on monthly active users. So these are actual users that use our platform every day on a monthly basis. We're at 19,724. So we're just 200 some shy of 20,000. So if some of you can go home and tell your team to start logging in, I want to see 20,000. So Amo always say this is the number that's very, very hard to grow fast. We can grow total number of users much, much faster than this. But this is actual users that's using our platform. So I want to look at this number much more than total number of users because this talks about the health of the platform. And talking about health, we are at right 10.56 million transactions monthly. This is from August. August, we are at this, and just put something in context. What is a transaction? A transaction could be 1 3-hour-long residential survey. One transaction could be 1 restaurant inspection. One transaction could be a 500 element submission. And we do 10 million of these every single month. And we'll continue to grow, and kudos to our team, that is great. Another thing that we do very well, and a lot of you have in contact with our support team. Our support team is now at 97% satisfaction rate. And I'm very proud of our support team, and I always tell customers, our technology is great, but our people is better. Talking about support, this year we have revamped the onboarding process and also the managed service process. So all of these are designed to help our customers get to value much, much faster. And we continue to do that, and that's the heart and goal of what we try to do. So that's updates. That's number 1 thing. Number 2 thing, what I really want to talk about, it's not updates. Pictures, cameras, right? So some of you have heard, I like to use this camera. And you know that you can't come to one of my talk without seeing some of my personal pictures. So I'm going to show you some personal pictures, right? Yeah, some of you are laughing because I always do that. So this, earlier this year, my older son had a chance to go with his school to Rome, and they attending a conference. So this kid here on this side is Zachary. And I said, oh, you're going to Rome, I'm going too. And then he said, no, Dad, you're not coming with us. You're not following me. And we get some negotiation going, and at the end, it's like, okay, well, the deal is I am going to go, but we'll go separately. You will not see me. You'll be in the front of the street. I'll be in the back. I'll be in the corner. Will not embarrass you in any way, shape, or form. So we took separate trips. They went direct, and they flew direct, and we had a layover in London. So when we got to London, I took this screenshot, which is like we've never been so far apart. And we're in London, and we're laying over. And at that time, I sent a text to my tour guide that we had booked in Rome, and I asked that tour guide, well, when I get to Rome, should I take Uber or should I take taxi? I don't know, right? So in here, I always assume Uber is better than taxi, but you never know when you go into another country. So a few minutes later, he sent me this. It turns out he went downstairs and went to a taxi, took a picture, and then sent it to me. So it turns out they do the same thing as Manhattan. That's fixed price, fixed fee that you take from the airport to downtown, 48 euro. So when we get to Rome, we exited, we went out. We met the taxi guy, and the taxi guy said, "Do you know how much we're normally charging?" And remember, I already know it should be 48 euro. And I said, "Yeah, 40 euros." And he looked at me like, "No, 48." And I said, "Okay, that sounds about fair." Guess what would happen if I didn't know? Like maybe I pay like 60 euro, who knows, right? You cannot go to Rome without taking a lot of pictures. So, and so this is one day. In that one day, we took 450 pictures. So if you like maybe over drink tonight, I can show you all the pictures, including the 360 that we took inside the Colosseum. So we went to Colosseum that day. We took 450 pictures. And of course, can't be a modern traveler without taking a picture of your food, and not just any food, but airline food that is served by our friend from Gate Gourmet and inspected by the Zerion platform. So I know it's very safe to eat. Now, when we get there the first night, my son's teacher sent me a text and say, "Hey, I want to make breakfast for the kids, but I couldn't find eggs." And I said, "Well, what? Let me try." So we went to a supermarket. It turns out they don't store eggs in the fridge. So I took this picture, sent it to him, and I say, "Hey, when you get in there, look to the left, not to the right, because normally you look to the fridge," and he couldn't find it. Turns out they store it on the shelf. And my last picture is something that you all do, which is crazy selfie. So we love taking crazy selfies. So why am I telling you all this? I just want to show off traveling picture, which I do, right? Don't get me wrong. But the main reason is none of these pictures are considered classic use of your camera. None of these pictures are considered classic use of camera. And we didn't start here. We didn't all of a sudden jump from taking regular nicely posed picture to taking crazy selfies. When you think about the transition from film photography to digital photography, we went through a transition. We start from here. Remember, in the late 90s, we went from like having to develop our pictures, 24 like 1 hour picture, to printing out the pictures. So this is when we start substituting the technology. And if we never grew out of printing pictures, none of these would have happened. None of these would, like, we wouldn't take crazy selfies, we wouldn't take pictures of our food, we wouldn't take 400 pictures in one day, and we wouldn't take a picture of a taxi and send it somewhere else. And again, of course, we're talking about the adoption of a technology. And in digital photography, we went through this phase where we start printing out our picture and then realize we don't have to print them out. And once you start not printing them out, you then realize, hey, we can do more. And then you start realize, hey, these are free. Hey, we just chop, 400 pictures a day, right? So what happens is you start reimagining what is possible. Once you're not having to print them out, once you change your mindset. Like remember, we've been developing pictures for hundreds of years. Well, maybe not hundreds of years, right? Long time. I don't exactly know, like maybe almost 100 years, I would say. 1902 is when Kodak started their first camera, I think. But like we've been developing picture for so long, and you have to remove that habit. You have to start reimagining what is possible. So we still would take normal pictures, if it would show up, like this, right? So these are classic substitute, like you would take the same picture in the past in analog, in film. But now you can take more. You can take crazy selfies, your food, and whatever you want because it's free, right? Those are kind of augmentation. Well, then you start modifying your behavior because these are not even pictures in a classic sense. My tour guide then take a picture of the taxi and send it to me. And lastly, I took this. Now, this is in my camera roll, but it's not even a picture. We completely redefine what pictures are. If you think about how you use your camera phone to take picture, it is completely, totally different than how you used camera before. And that is what the digital camera was doing to us, to our life, and that's what we want to do for you. Zerion is, we want to help you reimagine what is possible. And we do that with our platform, end-to-end platform, from data collection to data flow automation to reports. And Al, yes, we have reports now. You keep asking. So that is what I want to talk about. The second thing is how do you take a platform like us and start reimagining, like you let go of printing your pictures. Well, okay, so the third thing I want to talk about are cases that how we internally start using our own platform to reimagine what we do. So I'm going to go through a few cases. First, this is our hiring dashboard. Like I told you, we've been hiring. And on average, we go through about 100 resumes for each hire on average. And we don't do the normal, typical hiring process. We go through activity-based. So the candidates have to go through activity 1, activity 2, and then phone interview and a long process. So every week I email Faith. It's like, okay, well, how many people apply? How many people have gone through each process? And it's tough. So I start asking, well, imagine if I can see all of these in one dashboard. How cool would that be? And guess what? With some data flow automation magic, that can happen. So we're using Dataflow, taking data from the Trello board, automatically, as the Trello board updates, get data into the dashboard. So I don't have to ask Faith to send me a report every week. So now it's automated, right? Another case, this is more, maybe you can relate a little bit more. This is a Multiselect. So this is a form that I think we built for a customer. You know, Multiselect is easy, so you just tap, 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 and go on. Now, the problem with Multiselect is when it gets to the database, it becomes a comma-separated column. And your reporting people hated it. Your reporting people is like, how do I process this data? So traditionally, a lot of time what we did was, okay, well, if you want the data to show up in a single table, each answer is a separate row, well, we'll build it as a subform and separate these as each one being a separate question. So then the data will show up correctly. Well, but then your front-end people are mad at you because now you have subform and they have to go through like different subform. So that has always been happening. Now, imagine if we can make a process where you can make them both happy at the same time. The front-end people is happy, the back-end people are happy. And again, with some data flow automation magic, we can make it happen. So we call this the multi-select normalization. It's not just multi-select. Anything can happen. So you build a form, how it fit the front-end user, front-end field users. And then with the data flow, we can split it into a separate table. Every selection can be a separate row, so your data people can also be happy. How cool is that? Now, another case, we have this web form that asks customers to submit their their name and their images to us, so that we can generate a screenshot, a PDF for them to look at what a white label may look like. And guess what? When we tell people to submit images for us like 200 by 200, nobody does that. Yeah. So what we had to do is we had to get this form, download the images, resize them, and then put it in a PDF. Well, imagine if all of these, from the web form to formatting the icon to generating the preview to email the PDF, can be done completely automatically. Well, with Dataflow automation magic, we can get that done. Now, this is a little bit more complex than your classic traditional Dataflow automation. We take it from the web form, we take the image, we went through resizing and generate a PDF, send it to customer completely automatically. Very cool. All right, so this is another case. Some of you went through the Dataflow automation certification, and some of you already experienced this magic. Dr. John created exercise, and traditionally, you check the exercise, right? So your trainee will finish the exercise, will submit to the trainer, and the trainer will look through them. Well, imagine if we can do all of that automatically. You submit the exercise, we check it, we tell you did you complete it correctly, completely automatically. How cool would that be? And guess what? Dr. John, with this amazingly complex data flow, are able to get that done. So on the right here is when I went through this, I did it wrong, so it says, well, unfortunately it is wrong. And so I went back to update, submit, and then within another minute, I get another email, all without the trainer having to do anything. That's very good. All right, so this is my last case. We as a company use a lot of different systems. Every department uses a different system. Accounting uses QuickBooks, and where's QuickBooks, right? Zendesk, Salesforce, and I had to go either I ask each department to send me a report, or I get account to go into each system and understand what every department is doing on a weekly basis. So how cool would that be if I get a consolidated dashboard that everybody can submit their data automatically without a lot of work, right? A lot of time, it takes work to generate a report just to show it to me. Then, to me, that's a waste of time. How would that be if we can get that done? And of course, guess what? With Dataflow automation magic, I now actually have a dashboard from different systems, from GitHub to Salesforce.com to Zendesk to QuickBooks, all in one sheet. And this also allowed me to do this. Looking at it in my car that drives by itself. All right. Yeah, so if you see me on Toro, I'll be reading the dashboard. So we have been hard at work at reimagining what is possible within our business. And we want to do the same for you. Today is for you guys. We want you to meet with the team, meet with each other. Today we have a lot of cases from our customers to partners to our team members on different things that we have been doing for you, both in Dataflow automation or in the front end and in the back end. So we want to make today your event, and together, let's reimagine what is possible. Thank you.
And Al's been a staple at the Power User Summit for quite some time. Al started using our application 6 years ago, and 6+ years ago. And it started off just very small use cases here and there, and then all of a sudden, Al has been able to work with the team, has been able to do some pretty amazing things to reimagine how he could actually influence how Gig Group works. And Al, please, I appreciate everything you've done for us over the years, so thank you so much.
Great. Well, it's